Welcome to the second episode of the MoonQuill podcast. On this show, we'll be talking all things reading and writing with a focus on web novels, which are Asian-influenced, long-form novels that are posted to the internet on a chapter-by-chapter basis. I'm Moon, your host, and I have several guests here with me today.
Hey everyone, I'm etvolare.
Hey, I'm Bal.
Hey, I'm Tectonic.
Awesome. So our first topic is going to be the web novel contract and how it is. Spoiler alert, it's not very good. So I actually have a copy of Webnovel's contract. For those of you who don't know, Webnovel is a subsidiary of Qidian, which is a subsidiary of Yuewin, which is a subsidiary of Tencent. Basically, they are one of the big names in the Chinese web novel market, and they've moved over to translating English novels, and they also have a strong original novel base, and they've been signing a lot of authors to their original novel contract, which is what I have in front of me here today.
Dude, that long chain of corporate command just sounded really shady. It sounds so like, it was the lower guy down the chain's fault, not us.
Yeah.
But this is gonna be good because I already know how bad the translation contract can be. I have heard many horror stories about the original one.
Oh yeah, it's not good. I've read it a few times. It's really bad. All right, so it starts off with, let's see, 2.5 pages of definition. So that's a great start. It defines everything.
To be fair, that's standard, isn't it? The standard in a contract.
Usually you don't have to, but it's not out of the ordinary, I guess, yeah. But either way, it starts with 2.5 pages of definitions. And it goes to subject matter of the agreement. It basically states the title of the work that is being contracted. It goes to saying that you have to provide an outline of the work. So far, it's all very normal. And then the next part is word count, work schedule, and release. Does anyone want to give a guess on what do you think the word count is for this contract?
I'd assume reasonability is 10K a month.
Yeah.
It's total. It's total.
Total.
Oh, for a work.
A total for a work. Okay.
Yeah.
So granted.
By the way, they give a range.
A range.
All right.
Yes.
I'm gonna go off of one of my novels, which is actually a Qidian novel. It's 700. Oh crap! I need Chinese conversions of numbers. Okay, it's 7 million Chinese characters, and that could translate to like 4 or 5 million English words. Surely they're not asking this much from like first-time English web novel authors. So I'm guessing like 1 million English
I would
words?
say like 1 million.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So they give a giant range. The range is 50,000 to 8 million.
What?
Well, I guess it's all encapsulating then.
So honestly, at that point, why even give a range?
Yeah. You could just say like a minimum at that point, you know?
Wait, I didn't catch that number. What was it?
50,000 to 8 million is the range they give.
Oh.
Which at that point, I have no idea why you even give a range.
Yeah,
And this is for this
kind of bizarre.
This is for this specific book. I don't know if it's that insane for other books, but that's what we got for this one.
Huh. Okay, I mean, let's put it into context maybe. Does anyone know how many words the completed Harry Potter series is?
I actually don't know. I would have to.
What?
I would hazard a guess at about 1 million, probably. For all 7, probably about 1 million. That would be my guess.
Oh yeah, you're right. We're about 1.1 million. Just about.
Yeah.
All right. Oh my
Nailed
goodness.
it.
Okay, so anywhere between like half of the first volume to 8 Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just in that ballpark.
Yeah.
So, okay, if during the term of this agreement, Party B fails to meet the requirements, including but not limited to word count or chapter count of the work as required, or Party B, okay, Party B is the author, by the way, or Party B has failed to meet the timeline to finish the work unless otherwise agreed by the parties in writing, the term of this agreement shall be extended to the date on which Party B has completed the work. All right, that's actually fairly ordinary. The language is incredibly convoluted, but it's fairly ordinary. Oh, okay. This is one of the bummer things. The next part is after Party B has reached the minimum word count as stipulated in clause 2.3, which is the 50K to 8 million. Party A, which is Webnovel, is entitled to, based on market demand and publication requirements, ask Party B to stop working on the work and complete the work.
Damn.
So that's actually, I guess,
What?
why they give the minimum. After you write this first 50,000 words, at any point in time, they can kick you off your work and just have someone else write it if they don't feel like you're the best option.
So
Which could
basically,
happen for any number of reasons. Yeah, go ahead.
you're saying that if I was, as an author, putting my heart and soul into a work, this company would basically be the headsman who would have an axe over my throat at any point, and they can say, "No, I don't like you. Go away."
Under the contract, yes. As for if they can enforce it, who knows?
Jeez.
I do want to note the contract does state that everything in the contract is under Hong Kong's legal system. And well, think for that whatever you will. The section continues to say that Party A has the right to complete the work independently or designate a third party to complete the work. The part of the work created by Party A need not pay Party B for any remuneration. So basically,
Wait.
after they kick you off, they don't need to pay you for
And they
anything
can do
that
whatever
they create.
they can do whatever they want with it. What?
Yeah. So they
This
can
is the
take your
author's
IP.
baby.
So
Yeah.
just quick summary, they can take your IP, they can kick you off, and then they can have someone else write it. And worst part of all, you don't even make money from your IP anymore. So that's great.
Heck.
Wait,
What
so
the-
who
I mean,
maintains the rights to the work after you sign? They do.
Sorry?
So who maintains the right after they kick you out? Do they have
They
the
do.
copyright to the work? Oh dear.
They do.
I mean,
Jeez,
even
man.
before they kick you off, it sounds like they have the right to your work because they tell you when you can stop work, when you have to stop working on it, and they say, okay, and then we're gonna put someone else on it or do take it in another direction entirely. That's just
Yeah.
whoa, that is mind blowing.
Yeah. It's not great. It's not a great start. We're only one section in, by the way.
Because there's no way this is like standard in any Western author contract, right? No way.
It's a little more stringent than most, yes.
You know,
But in general, publication contracts are not the best.
yeah, if I was reading that, that's the first section. I wouldn't even bother reading the rest, honestly.
Yeah, because
Well-
like most publication contracts, they don't say that they'll kick you off the work and not pay you for anything for it.
Oh yeah,
and
that
decide
part is
whatever they want
definitely
to
not
do,
normal.
right? Yeah.
You only get that if you're working on like a new like Star Wars movie or something.
Yeah.
And you're working on a huge franchise and they really need to protect their work. But no, this is for like new works that you're coming up with. This is like if they kick George Lucas off
Oh
like
my gosh.
one episode in.
Or like they took J.K. Rowling off of the first volume of Harry Potter because it didn't, I mean, unless you're already an established author, and please correct me if I'm wrong, since I'm not an author, like it's not a guarantee that your first work is a blockbuster success, right? So by these metrics, J.K. Rowling could have been kicked off of her first volume and we'd have some really weird thing for Harry Potter.
Harry Potter and the charm of negligence. I don't know. All right, so I know like this is a lot, but honestly, there's a lot more in this contract, and a lot of it's really not that great. So the next section is licensed content and period of licensing. So period of licensing is actually awesome for this title because let me read this out for you. Let's see. Party B hereby grants to Party A and its affiliates and Party A and its affiliates accept a worldwide, exclusive, perpetual, irrevocable, freely transferable, and sub-licensable license of the entire copyright subsisting in the work, including without limitation the new works rights, the audio adaptation rights, the English paperback publication rights, and the distribution rights, together with any and all intellectual property rights in and to the works for any purpose, including without limitation for promotion, marketing, sales, and any other forms of commercial or economic exploitation.
So
It just
they
sounds like
own
a
it
gigantic-
everywhere,
What
forever,
is this?
for everything.
Here's my thing, okay?
What?
Here's my biggest problem with this. If you're going to say worldwide exclusive, perpetual, irrevocable, freely all of that, and then finish it off with any and all intellectual property rights, why do you say any of the specific things anyway? Just say any and all, forever, irrevocable, done.
The language kind of reminds me of the Declaration of Independence. I'm sorry.
I mean,
Like
yeah.
they're trying to be so complex about it when all they're saying is we own you and we own your soul.
Yeah, basically.
Oh god.
Again, this isn't anywhere near a standard author contract, right?
Some of it is, but then it goes overboard. Like that's the thing, right? Like
Mhm.
it's kind of normal, but then it goes overboard.
Like, what parts?
So, for example, worldwide, exclusive, perpetual, that's actually pretty normal. But then you say
Really?
irrevocable.
Yeah.
Irrevocable is what brings it overboard. Because this way, even if they break the contract, they keep the rights.
Yeah.
Oh.
Freely
gosh.
transferable is also a little overboard. Because that means that they can sell it to whoever they want without your permission. So let's
Right.
say you write a book and there's like, we don't really want to publish this anymore. We're going to give it to someone else. You don't know how that other company is going to treat your work, right? So you may not want to do it. You're just like, okay, every book that's ever gone through that second company has failed. I really don't want my book to fail, but you have no choice in the matter.
It kind of sounds like that's a way for them to dodge payment, no? If they sell off your work without telling you.
That's true, I guess, right? Because
Like how are you supposed to know how much money the other company is selling your work for? So at any point in time, if they feel like, oh, this work, we're paying this author too much, I'm gonna sell it to a subsidiary. What is the author supposed to do?
that's actually true. They could potentially sell it to another Chidian or Yuan or Tencent subsidiary. And then because you don't have a contract with that company, would they not have to pay you? Like I don't know how that works.
No. That's pretty, you know.
That's chilling.
There's lots of room to sort of fudge their way of not paying you there.
Okay, so we've kind of established that they own you and they can do whatever they want. They can sell you to whoever they want, and you don't see a dime. Okay.
Here's the thing, though. Like so far, they, from what I've heard, at least they've done a pretty good job of paying their authors. Although there was that thing, like I think 2 months ago, where authors found that their Webnovel was actually taking a bigger portion of the earnings than they said they did.
Yeah.
Because I
What?
think the split is supposed to be 50-50, but I think they found that like Webnovel was taking more than 50% because they were claiming like hosting costs and stuff like that, but that hosting cost is supposed to come out of their 50%. Like, you know, that's like why they get the 50%.
It's like that's exactly what I mean.
Because they're
Like,
marketing.
the fudging of the details, you know.
Lack of
Yeah.
transparency.
And I think some of the authors were just like, these numbers don't really add up. Let me see the accounting. And that's how they found out. So
Wasn't it like through I think it was found out through somebody contacting their accounts team or something directly. Like, it wasn't, they didn't even like announce it. It was because somebody asked somebody who didn't know they weren't supposed to say.
Oh my
I'm actually not
gosh.
sure exactly,
I-
but honestly,
Yeah, it was something.
with Webnovel, that's probably the case.
Hey, disposable authors, disposable stuff.
Also, to
Yeah.
listeners who aren't like familiar with like the web novel scene, there's a reason why it sounds like we're ripping on web novel. It's because they kind of deserve it.
Yes.
Like, we're not being a-holes for the sake of it. All right, so next section. Party A shall use commercially reasonable endeavors to promote and market the work. Party B agrees that Party A or other third parties commissioned can produce covers, illustrations, and for the like. So this is actually really normal. It basically says we can use your work and parts of it for marketing. This is actually completely normal. Next section is 3.4 for avoidance of doubt in view of the license of the new works right pursuant to clause 3.1. Party A has the full right to create or designate a third party to create sequels, prequels, which is spelled wrong, continuations, expansions, or peer works, based on the characters, plots, props, concepts, and backgrounds of the work, and the copyright to such new works shall belong exclusively to Party A. And Party A may deal with such new works as it wishes without any necessity for permission or consent from Party B. So
Okay.
basically, they're saying to go back to the Harry Potter thing, right? This is them basically saying, you've written the first Harry Potter book. Let us write the next 6, and we own it.
This sounds like such a hostile takeover.
Wait, so that means you're not working on Harry Potter anymore, aka they kicked you off according to the first clause. So
Yes.
that also means they no longer have to pay you anymore, right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh, even if the series becomes a huge success.
Yes.
What? This is totally blowing my mind.
And they can make whatever they want from your IP.
They
that
can
you
make
spent time
prequels,
thinking of.
sequels.
Okay, I
Jesus.
mean, this is not normal, right?
And I suppose
It's kind
they-
of normal for really big franchises. Like Disney, right, owns Star Wars now, right? So they
Yeah.
can create prequels, sequels, etc. But like, this is not something you usually lead off with. This is something that like you specifically negotiate for.
That was not a franchise that was bought with billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because usually people who kind of, kicked off, who get kicked off of their series, they get bought out of them, right? They're not just kicked off and, bye bye.
Or
That's
they
it.
were specifically hired to like do the series, and then like D&D with Star Wars, right? Like they
Yeah,
rushed
yeah.
Game of Thrones to do work on Star Wars, and then Disney was just like, we don't know about you guys anymore. So they got kicked off. That's normal. They got hired to work on it. It's not their original production.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and they were paid during their period of employment. I mean, this is like, a poor average starting out author signs his contract and then gets kicked off of it, but then their series hits blockbuster success and they never see anything from it, which is not how it should work.
Yeah. And I
Just
mean,
to give some stats behind that, I think the typical web novel author makes like $200 a month or something.
Yikes. That's
Oof.
barely enough for groceries.
like the wording is so convoluted that if there was a newbie, a young like author or a newbie author, they could just go, yeah, nod their head and sign into this. It's so convoluted at times that somebody could easily get trapped by it.
Especially
Yeah.
as I think most authors that are drawn to these kind of writing platforms, they're probably, students or doing this part-time for fun, the ones that are really in this, they probably have their own agents and they already work with publishers directly. So this is really I would say maybe, I don't know if taking advantage is too strong of a word, but it kind of feels like that, of people who are not very much in the know for this industry and don't know where they can go for information.
Yeah.
I feel
That's
like it
kind
is kind of taking advantage too, because like from your background or what you were saying regarding backgrounds, like students, part-time workers, etc. I
Mhm.
sincerely doubt they're able to afford like consultation from a lawyer to sit down and go, what does this say? Define the terms for me, please. It would be very much like, oh my gosh, I got a contract, mom and dad. Yay, look at me. I'm gonna be successful.
Yeah.
You're just
Mhm.
gonna sign it
Yeah.
on the high of getting recognition, because that's a trap for new writers too, new authors.
Yeah.
They're so eager to get recognition from anybody for their work that I feel like it is kind of like a honey trap for them. I know it was for me when I
Yeah.
started writing with Webnovel. Um, Thankfully, I saw their first contract.
It's kind of really just a crap situation all around, because what you're saying is right? Like, when you're a new author, all you really want is for someone to appreciate your work. And when that comes along, that's just all you see.
Yeah, when you get this big company that's offering you this contract when you can like earn money from your writing that you've never earned before, you kind of ignore the bad bits because you're getting some sliver of recognition when you were getting none before.
That's
Just like,
actually something that I've seen a lot of. A lot of the people who are signing the contract are saying, well, honestly, we've seen a lot of people sign the contract and then say, "Oh, I didn't even read it." So that's one thing. The second thing is
No.
a lot of them are just like, "Oh yeah, I know some parts of the contract are bad, but I don't think Web Novel is going to reinforce it." And I'm just like, "Well," or sorry,
yeah,
What?
enforce it. And I'm just like,
What?
"Well."
I mean, if they're not going to
If they're
enforce it,
ever Mhm. Yeah, if they're not gonna enforce it, why would they put it in?
yeah, why bother writing a
Yeah.
getting a team to draft it up if you're not going to enforce it?
Speaking of, they used the drafting of the contract to delay so much stuff. Like for like they said they were drafting the contract for like 6 months, right? When I was talking to them back in 2018, I believe. Yeah, 2018. I was talking to them from December of 2017 all the way to April of 2018. And every single month they were just like, we're drafting the contract. Okay, it's gonna take a while. We're writing it so that's really good for the writer. And then I see it come out and I'm just like, this is something that somebody wrote in maybe 2 days. God.
I guess it's really good that we're going through the contract like this then, since we're looking into the legalese and kind of breaking it down into more simplistic and easier to understand terms, and really thinking about what type of situations that could crop up that would make this relevant. It's the whole, yeah, I signed a contract, I didn't read it, or I don't think they'll enforce it, but that if the contract is ever used, if it's ever exercised, that is when the author will really, really regret what they did, maybe like 3 or
Yeah.
4 years ago or whatever. Yeah, it'll be a huge regret.
It's that
yeah.
kind of thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
If it becomes really popular and they've signed this contract and as they've matured, they understand what they're saying. There's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
It's like irrevocable. What they've done is set in stone. Even if they want to revoke the contract, they can't because they've basically handed everything over to them. It's more like you're a puppet that can write it, but you don't own anything about it. As soon as you write a word, it's basically becomes theirs.
Yeah.
But wouldn't the contract be null and void if there's typos and stuff in the contract anyway? Like, surely you can't be pushing that out and enforcing it
It's
unless they
intent.
define. It's
From a
intent,
legal
okay.
standpoint, it's intent. So if there is something which is implied through it, it's allowed. It's not throughout. If it's like typos all the way throughout, however, if there's a single typo, that doesn't make the contract null and void.
Yeah. So I'm going to skip a few because The next few, for the most part, are basically just like after the copyright runs out, Party A gets to, keep showing the work on his website. That's actually fairly normal. It just means that Webnovel doesn't really have to care when copyright expires, and they don't have to worry about that on their end. So next is Party B's warranties and representations. This is also pretty normal. Like, the work is original, created independently without the assistance of other parties. Party B hasn't plagiarized the work, has not been in any IP disputes. The previous version of the work hasn't been published in another location. The rights granted to Party A are free from encumbrances, including but not limited to any security interests, options, mortgages, charges, or liens in favor of third parties. And the work doesn't violate any laws or regulations of applicable laws. So that's actually all very normal. That's boilerplate. They honestly probably copied that from, literally any other contract. Party B undertakes not to include any contacts that are not permitted by Party A in chapters of the work. And Party B also undertakes not to take any actions to distort, slander, or damage the image of Party A or Party A's web channels. It shall not publish any statements that may cause others to have a negative impression of Party A or Party A's web channels. Party B shall not take or engage in any action that may compete with Party A on any platforms or channels.
Yeah, so that's like, you can't speak bad about them if you enter this contract.
Yes.
Forever.
Can't say anything
And the
bad
non-compete-
about them forever.
Wait, how long is the non-compete agreement for?
I,
Because if you sign that contract and it just says, "Oh, you can't write on any other platform once you sign this contract," isn't that forcing?
No. This is, you can't write anything bad about them. Or actually, I guess that is a non-compete, huh? Because
Yeah, it's a non-compete. So, for instance, if I've signed a contract with Webnovel and then I fall out with them, I can't write on MoonQuill. I can't publish anything on MoonQuill. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
is there a limit to that, or is it basically a giant middle finger saying nope?
It doesn't look like there's a limit on it. All right, the next section is 4.3. Party B undertakes not to enter into any electronic, verbal, written, or other forms of agreement with any other parties relating to the work or other works for duration of this agreement. Moreover, Party B promises not to participate in any commercial activities carried out by Party A's competitors, including but not limited to acting as a spokesperson, promoting, working for, investing in, or incorporating new companies or studios in any way in connection with Party A's competitors during this agreement. I guess that kind of makes sense. You don't really want, your authors working with competitors. I guess that's fairly normal. I haven't seen that specific clause in any of my contracts, but what do you guys say?
I feel like it's just a PR thing, no? They just want to make sure that their reputation isn't more trashed than it already is.
Yeah, sort of limit anything bad as much as they can.
Because honestly, this contract feels like 1/3 we own your soul, 1/3 damage control, and then 1/3 just mumbo jumbo and convoluted language.
Honestly.
All right. 4.4, Party B shall not provide any money, gifts, or other tangible or intangible benefits to the editors, employees, and or family members of any staff of Party A or Party A's affiliates.
Why though?
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, if an editor's doing a good job or something, like, why not allow the author to like send them like $100 or something, or just like a gift? Like,
Is that like,
as,
can you not,
token
like,
thing.
if you got really friendly with an editor, can you not send them a birthday present?
Yeah,
they don't want to be cut out of the process, essentially.
Even intangible benefits. What constitutes an intangible benefit?
Can you not like their posts on social media?
Oh my gosh.
Your editor
That's
can't
just
use
saying-
you for clout.
That's saying anything that could possibly ever benefit them, you're not allowed to do.
Yeah.
Like, even from a social standpoint, anything that slightly boosts them from a social standpoint,
That's
they
actually
cannot
hilarious.
do. Like, they can't write, thanks to the editor in an author's note.
Oh my gosh.
Can you say good morning? Because then they would feel good, right? About
You're elevating
talking
their
to someone. You're elevating
You
their
guys are-
mood.
You're total.
My God.
I mean, this is kind of an exaggeration, maybe just a little.
Yeah, it definitely
Well-
is, but like it's just stupid.
As per the contract, like that's what it is, though. Like
Yeah.
the way
Like,
it's
they-
stated, that's how it is. Like it might not be in full.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
They really don't want to be cut out of the process.
Yeah,
I
it
figure
sounds to
maybe
me-
they're worried that, that an author gets famous, starts making some money, hits it off really well with their editor, and decides, you know what? I'm done with the series. I'm gonna go elsewhere.
It's
and
not
take
even
their
just
entire
the
team with
editors
them.
though. It's literally any staff of Party
Yeah.
A. Any.
Yeah,
it sounds
they
like
don't want to.
a way to
God.
break the contract. Like if they wanted to break the contract with an author, it gives them a really easy way to.
Yeah.
Oh.
You literally can't say anything to anyone.
Yeah,
No, but
Oh my
seriously,
God.
this is
Well-
sounding more like a hostile takeover in that at any point in time they can come up with a convoluted reason to cut you out of the equation and then continue your work as
Yeah,
they see fit.
exactly. That's why I was
Well,
saying
pretty
like
much.
the good morning
Oh,
thing,
man.
right? It's like, oh, you said good morning to someone on staff.
Nope.
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 well, it was only positive social. It was only benefits, wasn't it? So could you make a staff member feel really bad as long as you're not directly
Yeah.
going against the company? Like you could make an individual feel bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like then they would bend your arm and say, "No, you're not good to work with. We don't want you to work with us anymore. Bye." And then they rip up your contract.
Well, yeah.
I feel like
Remember, they can cut you out for any reason at any time.
Yeah.
And your agreement with them is irrevocable. So,
That's just crazy.
all right. So next, big section, rights and obligation of the parties. 5.1 is pretty standard. It's basically they already had a section where they were like, we can use stuff in the work for marketing. This is another section for some reason. It also includes Party B, hereby authorizes Party A to create, manage, and run personal websites or other social media accounts in Party B's name for the purpose of marketing.
Whoa.
I
that
mean,
it's what Disney did with Stan Lee's account. Right after he died, they
yeah,
posted, "Oh,
like
come
depending
watch."
on how you feel about it, that's either a huge negative or a positive.
Yeah.
Like it can go either way. For someone like me, I really don't care about my social accounts. I really don't care if anyone knows who I am. So for me, I would just be like, yeah, sure, go ahead, take over my social media. I'm not gonna do anything with it anyways. For someone like you, you're really active in like a bunch of community, right? And on Twitter. So if they
Yeah.
did this for you, it would be a huge negative for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, and then just in terms of control over stuff, I like being in control of what I say, and building
That's
my
true.
own reputation. Yeah, because like, what if they say something for the purposes of marketing and it actually goes completely against what I think or believe or want? I can't do anything about it. And is there a time limit on this? Is it revocable? I'm guessing no.
Nope. Doesn't appear to be.
Yeah, see, to me, that would be a problem. So let's say I sign a contract for a book I had an idea for when I was 18. That means they can still be running a personal social media for me when I'm 35. I mean, how many of us have regretted something we've done within the year, much less something we did when we were like kids? It's just,
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know, man. I would not be okay with that at all.
I'd just like to also add, to an author or a new author, your social media presence and your image to the public is so important. So basically, what they're doing is they're cutting off your future too, because I know that a majority of readers they will, or not majority, but a lot of people will refuse to buy a work if the specific creator did something they disagree with. So if you're not in control of your social media accounts, and then Webnovel says something that you don't agree with, and then that becomes a controversial topic. Is that not also cutting off your path of retreat for the future?
Here's the thing, though. Webnovel actually usually plays it pretty safe on their social and stuff, right? So one would assume that while you're in their good graces, at least, they would also play it pretty safe with your account. But
the key term there is good graces, right?
Yeah.
When do they turn hostile towards you?
Yeah, like if you disagree with them on something and they're just like, well, we're just gonna go off with this guy, are they just gonna start like posting like terrorist things on your account or something? Like they can realistically just do that and like ruin your life.
I mean, granted, I don't think they will do that. Even
Right,
though
you
we
know,
might all
yeah.
dislike
It's a
Webnovel.
possibility.
Yeah.
But the
I don't
thing
think they
is,
will, but the
could.
potential they could, yeah. At any point they can decide we will.
Like maybe not terrorist stuff, but like they could just be like, I'm a dum-dum. I don't know. But like, you
Yeah,
know,
no, yeah.
right?
I mean, yeah, it's just overall, it's the whole idea of losing control over something that is so integral and personal and part of your personal brand that could have huge ramifications in your future.
Again, if you don't care about your personal brand, doesn't really matter to you.
I mean, we should though. People like getting to know the people that they're buying books from or that, they're reading translations from. We have seen
Yeah.
readers in the scene boycott translators or authors because they don't personally agree with something the writer has done. So, I don't know, I think that's pretty important.
Do you remember that like Emperor Immortal or some whatever book where like the person who was writing the book was claiming that he was translating it? And people looked for the raws and were just like, there are no raws. And he was just like, oh, I haven't written the raws yet.
Yeah, it was the Empyrean Overlord, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. At first, people were really supportive, even though they were falling on tough times and releases were coming out slower because, again, the personal brand. People really liked the novel and they seemed really upfront, earnest. I think students was a team of 2 students. But then once more and more truth started being uncovered, their brand name went to complete crap in the community. Yeah, and a lot of people pulled their support. And that is the type of stuff that's going to hang around.
From what I remember, it wasn't even a bad story. It's just that they lied,
good.
right?
Yeah, it's just that they lied. Yep. It was a good story. I read the first chapter. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Awesome.
That also kind of points out the thing, right? Like people have like this preference for translated novels, even when like there might be an original that's like the same quality. Now I'm definitely going to say translated works in general are better than original works because they are works that have succeeded already, generally speaking. However, that doesn't mean that all original novels are bad. And from a lot of the backlash, a lot of people were honestly just pissed off, not even that the people were lying, but that they were reading an original work. Right? They were just like, oh, it's not translated. I'm not reading this anymore. I'm just like, you literally read the book. You liked it. Now, just because you know it's not translated, like they weren't even mad that they were lied to. They were just mad that they weren't reading a translated novel.
What's superior about reading a translated novel?
A lot of the comments were just like, oh, now that I know it's an original novel, I'm not reading it anymore. And it's just like, didn't you enjoy the story? You've read like 100 chapters of it. What's your reasoning here? Was
it because they were worried that it would be dropped and not continued, which is essentially what happened in the end?
No. Like maybe, but like the comments were basically just like, now that I know it's an original, I'm not reading it.
Huh.
Which, from our perspective as original authors kind of sucks.
Yeah,
definitely.
Granted, I think this is quite early on in the scene. This was a few years ago, I think.
Oh, yeah. This was like
maybe
2016, I would say.
Right. Yeah. So back then, especially translated Chinese novels, they really were king. But I think the readership base has developed enough, has become sophisticated enough that they are much more open-minded. In fact, Chinese novels are somewhat derided now for their repetitiveness, and filler, blah, 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 all that. And so Korean novels are actually the huge rage. And who knows, in a year or two, maybe it'll be the original novels.
I mean, that's what I've been reading from my translated novels as well.
Yeah.
it's like I don't know if it's I got bored, but it just seems that Korean novels I've just been reading more now. It's an interesting thing because I used to read a lot more Chinese translated novels, but I checked the other day and I was like, wait, I'm only reading like 2 Chinese translated novels, and I have like 5 Korean ones.
Speaking of, shout out to the last episode. I did read all of the Unrivaled Tongue section. So yes, that did happen. I'm also halfway through the other one. What's it called? Legend of the Dragon King. Yeah, I'm like halfway through that one too.
No,
All right,
you need
let's
to go back to the
Duo
classics.
Dalu.
Oh my god.
Combat Continent?
Dude, I was so sad. I should have followed up with Soul Land. That's the other name, right?
I would have got Soul Land. If you had said Soul Land, I would have got it.
All right.
Anyway.
Really quick, let's just finish up with the web novel thing, and then we can go to sponsors. Let's see. It's a lot of boilerplate stuff. Oh, okay. Party B's remuneration. Okay, so composition of income. Party A shall use its reasonable endeavors to generate income for Party B by selling the work, blah, blah, blah. Share of single chapter subscriptions income. Party B shall obtain a share equivalent to 50% of the single chapter subscriptions income. Oh boy, okay. Single chapter subscriptions income shall be calculated based on the net income derived from a single chapter subscription for the paid chapters of the work published on Party A's web channels, paid for by members of Party A's web channels, minus the distribution channel costs, operating costs, and other costs as below.
Jeez,
Oh, God.
that's a mouthful.
Okay. So basically, it's the amount after costs, which is why the authors were pissed off when Webnovel was like, oh, yeah, we're giving you 50% minus our hosting. So they give an equation. Single chapter subscriptions income equals revenue from sales of single chapter subscriptions on Party A's web channels minus distribution, channel costs, operating costs, and other costs. Party B's share of this income is the income times 50%. I mean, I get whatever.
I mean, that's kind of shady because they lump in so many costs. And so that means, theoretically, of course, they could drive down the net, whatever's left after that, to minimal and share out only 50% of that. I mean, there's so many ways you can fudge with the numbers there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing there is they have to make it somewhat worthwhile for the authors. So I don't think they would ever do that unless they were actually like about to go bankrupt. But I mean, honestly, that part is actually fairly normal, I would say. Like that section, fairly normal. And it also does say if Party B has any like worries about it, they can raise queries and verify the data through Party A's website. Which I guess is how they found out, and then contacted, like Tectonic said, Webnovel's accounting department.
Who wants to bet that their accounting department has gotten a stern talking to and knows how to answer next time?
Yeah.
It's just when one side holds all of the transparency into the numbers, it's dicey. And whenever like the contracts, they're really important, and I think they only really come into play when there is a conflict or a confusion or dissension that this isn't how much I earned. I want to the contract only really comes into play when people want to argue about something, when things haven't been going well. And and this is where it's just, and money is such a sensitive topic, and people will get very they'll get really all out, or they'll get really aggressive or whatever for money. So I don't know, that would also make me a little bit uncertain too. Because sometimes in contracts like these, we often see clauses that say, okay, it can get audited by an independent third party,
Yeah.
or like, and there's more detailing about their reports, like our reports are generated through blah 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 system, available after the whatever of the month.
Yep.
And yeah, there's more checks and balances other than, hey, you can come ask us.
Yeah, that the thing after like a month or two, that's what we at MoonQuill have. So we have an entire like accounting sheet basically that we can provide to the authors on a month-to-month basis. For Webnovel, I think you just get like there's like a payment page on the website that you can see, and I don't have access to it, so I don't know how detailed that is. But I do know that at least in the past, some Webnovel authors I knew had a little trouble of getting paid on time, and they don't really have any action available to them other than to bug the hell out of their contact at Webnovel.
Right.
So yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Well, the rest of section 6, which is payment, basically just says 50% on everything. And if they wish to, Party A can pay Party B 10% of net income created from new works. So that would be like subsidiary works, prequels, sequels. So you only get 10% for that.
Wait,
if they
wish
want.
to?
If they
What?
want. In respect of. Okay, in respect of.
Oh yeah, very respectful.
Payment method. Okay, so this is where they have the monthly count. So what do you guys want to actually, you know what? Screw it. Party B shall submit in the work of 30,000 to 60,000 words in a month, every month.
Wait, so by that definition, don't they expect you to churn out your work in a month, the minimum?
Yeah, so 30,000 to 60,000, that's 1,000 to 2,000 words a day, which is manageable, definitely. But you would have to. Here's the thing: at that point, quality drops, and that's why Chinese web novels are such known for having a ton of filler. It's kind of. It's just the way web novel does their payment system. It's all about quantity of words, and quality is much more of a subjective thing, right? So they just went, all right, we're just caring about number of words. That's it.
And I think this section is the part where I'm always leery of recommending this sort of system to any budding author, because this is very much quantity over quality. And these writing habits will get ingrained in you, especially if you're starting out as a student or, say, recent fresh grad. And these are absolutely not the habits you want to have for any Western publishing company, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
They would
you'll
eat
get
you alive.
ingrained in this. Yeah, and so this is actually very harmful to the writers that they're signing, assuming, of course, that these writers want to be full-time professional writers. I'm assuming people who want a contract usually are. If you just want to, control C, control V, your plot lines and characters, then sure, whatever. But I am assuming that most people want to make some sort of serious career out of this. So this
Yeah.
is such incredible harm to them at such an early stage.
Yeah, it. I mean, I don't know what to really say about it other than this is just crap. You shouldn't pay on a by word basis. You shouldn't incentivize on a by word basis. It's just not good for any parties involved.
Well, just kind of off topic, but there is a precedence for this in history, mainly the French language, if you recall. The King of France was paying scribes by the letter to write down books, which is why historians theorized that French has a lot of useless letters at the end where they cut out.
Oh, really?
It was just so at the time everyone was paying by the word. So England was paying like monks to
Yeah, because you have to like actually write stuff, right?
Yeah, but
this is before like press.
But for whatever reason, France decided to say, "Okay, monks, we're gonna pay you by the letter." So incentive-wise, the more letters you have on a page, even if they're completely useless, the better it is for you, right? So we're seeing that now in Chinese web novels or originals, where you're just trying to pump out as much as you possibly can to make a quota and to get a following. And most of the crowd on web novel is more concerned about having something to read. They're more concerned that, oh, I have 20 chapters lined up by the end of the night, then, oh, there's 2 excellent chapters with great foreshadowing, great plot development, etc.
Yeah, a lot of good works get buried down in web novel. And honestly, I don't want to throw too much shade, but like I've looked at the top 50 of web novel original works like last month, and it's kind of painful. That's all I'm gonna say.
Fair enough.
Let's see. All right, the rest of this is basically how they're gonna pay you. It's in like either USD or the local currency, etc. Stuff like that. Confidentiality. Party A and Party B agree that Party B will be under obligations of confidentiality in respect of Party A's trade secrets or confidential information that Party B may obtain or become aware of in the course of this collaboration. Let's see. If the use or disclosure of trade secrets and or confidential information by Party B in violation of the provisions of this agreement cause any direct or indirect loss to Party A may require Party B to provide compensation in full for such for such losses, and Party A has the right to suspend, rescind, or terminate this agreement on this basis. That's actually kind of normal. You don't want your contractors leaking out any special advantages or methods you have to spur sales.
It's basically like non-disclosure at that point.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Breach and termination. Basically, the first section is if the author doesn't provide the manuscript within 3 months, I think, or outline in 3 months, and doesn't meet any of the requirements, then Party A will suspend or terminate the agreement. And this is actually the big thing. If Party A decides to suspend or terminate the agreement for any reason that's been listed above, so we've established that it can be for like literally basically any reason, Party A has the right to choose to, return all income from Party B that has been obtained from Party A for the work under this agreement. And compensate Party A for all losses suffered in that connection.
Wait, I need a translation into plain English.
If you ever do anything that breaks potentially anything in the contract, which we have established could be literally anything, Webnovel has the right to force you, as the author, to return all income you've ever made from Webnovel and all losses they have suffered. So this goes back to the NDA, right? So if you say, oh, this is how Webnovel markets their products, right? And then Webnovel is like, oh, that is a secret method of how we do marketing. You have now cost us $5 trillion.
Yeah, it's completely arbitrary,
I mean, they would have to prove that 5 trillion, though.
They would, but like we said, it's in the Hong Kong court. So you're going to have to go to Hong Kong and plead your own case.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Wait, but they still own your work after this.
And they still own your work.
And your social media.
Yeah.
And you have a non-compete agreement with them.
Yep.
And you're paying money for the privilege for them to do all that.
Yeah.
What?
So yeah, I don't know what to say to this.
What?
It's
I
mental.
mean, you guys have a crazy contract for authors. What?
Oh, but
Basically-
they're the crazy
Come
part
on.
is that they're actually. I know authors who will defend this to the death. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
talk to
it's
them, and
mad.
you're gonna say, for lack of a better word, I'm gonna quote Rick and
What?
Morty. This is slavery with extra steps. You tell that to
Yeah.
them, they're like, no, it's good, it's nothing, don't worry, and you're just
Well-
trying to point it out that this is quite literally a slave
See,
contract.
the thing is, if they've already entered into that contract, they by the contract they're not allowed to say
They
anything
have
bad
to
about it
defend
anyway.
it. They're
They have to defend
literally
it.
forced to defend it. If they say anything about the contract, you're gone.
Hey, nice catch 22 there, buddy.
Oh my god.
What do I? Okay, so what about? Are there any that haven't signed the contract yet, but they're still defending it? Like, I generally want to hear why authors would defend something like this.
But here's the thing: if they haven't signed the contract, usually it's because they haven't received it. The people who usually receive it and don't sign it are the ones who are saying bad stuff about it, right?
Right.
If
right.
you're defending it, that means you believe that it's a good contract, so you sign it regardless, right?
Right.
But-
okay.
Like, how do you defend that?
I don't know. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, what kind of arguments are they possibly using? Like,
The argument they're using is basically that Webnovel is not going to enforce it.
what?
Which here's the thing. Depending on where you live, Webnovel actually might not have the power to enforce it. Like Wiz, right? He's definitely broken a contract, right? He's gone and published his own books that he's signed in a contract to Webnovel on Amazon. He has
Oh.
created works. Basically, like back in the day, right? Wiz was their like
Champion.
was their champion.
Golden boy.
And
Poster
now,
child.
yeah, they're golden boy. And he basically just said, fuck you. And he turned around and published his books on Amazon. And he's making a killing now. I think he made like $30,000 last month. right?
What?
That's what I was told, at least.
What?
Wait, month?
So, yeah, month.
And
So he's making a killing.
Webnovel's just
And
letting
he's
him
not
get
even-
away with that?
Yes.
What?
And that's the thing. He lives in the USA, and he was smart enough to kind of cover his ass so that they can't just debit his accounts. At least I'm assuming he did that. At least I think he's from the US. He's either American or Canadian. He's one of the two. Either way, he's in a place where Webnovel doesn't have that much power. They can't forcibly debit his account. And as far as I know, Webnovel, because they made him their golden boy, they can't turn around and say, well, our golden boy ditched us. You know?
So
Well, then.
basically,
So-
you made your bed, now sleep in it.
Yes. So
Nice.
Webnovel kind of got screwed on that front. So, and honestly,
I mean,
I don't know.
That's a
but
1 in a million scenario, though.
yeah, I don't think people
Yeah.
should
If
go
a
into
new
this
author kind of
assuming.
uses that as their
Yeah, don't go
Oh,
into
yeah,
this thinking you'll
definitely
imitate
not.
him. Yeah.
definitely not. They've definitely learned, okay? Like, definitely. I do want to say I don't like Wiz as a person, but for this specific thing, I applaud him. Like, readers don't know, but like Wiz is kind of an asshole. Like everyone hates him. Every single writer who knows him hates him. I don't know a single person who doesn't hate him.
What is this
Who-
tea? What is
I don't know a
tea?
single person who knows him who doesn't hate him. Like, I
What?
was literally talking to a web novel author the other day, and she was like, "Oh yeah, every single time Wiz comes into the channel, this is all he does. He brags about how much he makes. He brags about his car. He brags about his girlfriend. He brags about how he screwed over a web novel, and then he leaves.
What?
And he
What?
does that on like a weekly basis. So my thought is,
Jesus.
on a weekly basis, he gets lonely, feels that he needs to boost his ego, and then does that. so,
So it's like that South Park episode where they were getting high off their own farts. The smug.
yeah, pretty much. Like, props to him for like making 30K last month. Props. That's some nice pocket change. But like,
Darn nice.
he's And props to him for screwing over Webnovel. I hate Webnovel more than I hate him by far. I don't hate him. Okay, I don't hate him. I just don't like him as a person. Okay, there's a difference.
So
But,
you don't
like,
agree with his methods. Let's say it like that.
I don't agree with who
Yeah.
he is as a person.
I mean,
So,
granted,
like,
we should not
but
be.
props to him. Props to him on that.
We should not be like breaking contracts and stuff. That's just I don't.
This is the kind of if you're going to break a contract, though, this is the kind of contract you break.
Well, not really. If you break this contract, then
Okay, if
You're
you can
screwed.
get away with it.
if you can get away with
this is
it,
the
then
kind
this
of
is
type
the
of
sort of thing
contract
you'd
you
want.
break.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, props to Wiz. So next section is, let's see. If Party B is in breach of the warranties in clause 4.1, Party A may at its sole discretion withhold the publication of the work and payment of the royalties. And again, Party B shall return to Party A all income obtained from Party A. So they're just covering their bases. If you break anything, they take all of the money you've earned back. Let's see. Yeah, basically every section here just ends with Party B shall return all income to Party A. Right of priority. So, Party A and Party B agree and acknowledge that all other works created by Party B, in addition to the work within 1 year after completion of the work, shall be regarded as Party B's new works for which Party A has rights of priority to exploit. So,
What? Plain English.
this means after you complete your work, for 1 year after that, if you start working on any new works, or actually if you create any new works, Webnovel has first dibs at it, basically. So
What?
let's say you write, let's go back to the Harry Potter one, right? Let's say you're J.K. Rowling, you wrote Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone. You say, okay, I'm done. We signed it. I gave you Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And then 11 months after that, she's like, oh, I'm working on, what was the second one? Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets? Yeah. So a year, 11 months after that, she's like, okay, I have Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Let's say she, for some reason, signed with Webnovel for Sorcerer's Stone in this alternate reality. Webnovel can say, hey, I want that. And let's say J.K. Rowling is like, but I have this great offer from this other company. They're paying me, I don't know, $5 million plus royalties. Webnovel can just be like, well, we have priority. We're going to pay you $5,000. Take it or leave it.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, not take it or leave it. It's too bad.
It's take it.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, the take it or leave it is, do you want the $5,000 or not?
Oh my god.
And remember, this is a detriment because they can end your work after the minimum, so they can artificially go, we don't want you. Now we want your next work.
I mean, this sounds like whoever dares leave their platform was going to get royally screwed over.
You have to wait a year.
Yeah.
Basically. Unless you're confident that Webnovel can't touch you. Which, Wiz basically did. You have to wait a year. Or what I know some people have done is they've just started writing under new pseudonyms. So you can do that too, and then just be like, well, that's not me. You have no proof it's me. That's not me. So
Gosh.
that's what some people have done.
Mm.
It's a pain. Let's see. Yeah, and then that's basically it. Signatures, you give all of your information, your real name, your pseudonym, your address, your ID card number, nationality, etc. That's actually kind of standard. Your bank account. Power of attorney for the work. That's a little. Oh, okay. I hereby grant a full exclusive license for the exclusive use of global copyright to the operating company. Okay, so you're not even. So you're signing with Cloudberry Holdings Limited, which is the operating company for Webnovel.
Yeah, they've got their own app.
Yeah,
So who's responsible for you?
Cloudberry Holdings Limited. I mean that part's a bit but it's honestly not that out of the ordinary. So yeah, that's the end of the Webnovel contract. Technonic, would you like to take it away with the sponsorship?
It's time for sponsors. This episode of the MoonQuill podcast is brought to you by us. That's right, if you're looking to read some wonderful original stories, MoonQuill is the place for you. You can find us at moonquill.com or through our Android app. On another note, The Song of Swords, the first novel to come through our publishing pipeline, was just published a few weeks ago. You can find it on Amazon in ebook and paperback formats, with a hardcover version on its way.
For our next section, which is also going to be the last one for this episode, we're going to talk about arcs. Arcs that are well known in web novels to pad up chapter number, specifically. So first one will be etvolare. etvolare, what you got?
All right, so the first one that immediately springs to mind for me is the aphrodisiac. And not only is that used for filler, in my opinion, it is also a huge cop out by the author, but it is present in like almost every single novel. It kind of kills me. So what happens is that the main character is either the target of a scheme or a plot, or by accident, or as part of his adventures, he falls and succumbs to the spell of an aphrodisiac. So first, we have several chapters setting that up. You know, why is he coming into contact with this drug? Is this because it's an enemy attack, or is he in a forgotten realm? So okay, he gets in contact with this drug, and of course he must vent his sudden peak of energies into a woman. So then we get several more chapters of reaction to, okay, now I'm drugged with this aphrodisiac and I have to find a woman, and it can't just be any woman, or maybe it can be any woman, but it's got to be a woman. So where's that woman? I need a woman, something like that for like a good another 3-4 chapters. And then he finds the woman, and sometimes this woman is one that already likes him, so she's perfectly willing to sacrifice her virginity, which is another huge thing in these novels, and to help him out of this, because if the main character doesn't vent his energies, he's going to either die or from an explosion or from really chronic blue balls or something. Just something horrible is going to happen to him. I mean, I swear.
Internal energies.
That's probably where the explosion's coming from. Horrific blue balls.
Or his cultivation.
Oh god.
Yeah, or like a huge
His yang
cultivation
energies
deviation.
are going.
There's another like good 3-4 chapters spent on the horrendous effects of what will happen if he doesn't get to vent himself. Hey, so we're already like, I don't know, 10, 15 chapters in, or we haven't even gotten to the good part yet, kind of. Well, you would think the good part is the actual action, but given the whole need to make the novels PG, the good part is usually censored. So you've already gotten like 10 to 15 chapters of this nonsense, and you don't even get any good heart-pounding action. Like, come on, guys.
Wait, really quick.
Yes.
Would you say that first the main character gets blue-balled and then the reader gets blue-balled?
Oh!
Yes. Oh my goodness.
That was a ballsy pun.
Oh gosh, that's a horrible pun.
Jesus.
So, okay, you would think, okay, he works off of the effects of the aphrodisiac, and that's good, right? Oh no, we're just getting started on this filler. So then, of course, there's the reaction, the morning after chapters. That's another like 3-4 chapters.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, guilt. I took advantage of this woman, of this girl who liked me. Anger and hatred to his enemies. Vowing vengeance. I'm going to track them down. Yes.
Sometimes you get the ones where there's no negative side effects, and the main if it's like the effects of a scheme from the bad guy who poisoned him, but he actually gets a rise in power because of
Yeah.
it, because
Oh my god.
Yep.
he becomes
His
stronger.
cultivation increases by a level because of this. Or if the woman was unwilling and was his enemy beforehand, she falls in love with him after this. So there's like another few chapters on that too. Oh. And so then after that, you really deal with the after effects. Either he charges off and goes find his enemies and kills all of them for daring to drug him, or he finishes the secret realm and gets all of the treasures and the girl, or the girl disappears after that night that is completely
Oh my
censored.
god.
And then he has to
Yeah.
spend like
That-
another 10 chapters tracking her down. Or, in
Yeah.
SOTR's case, it was like, I don't even know, hundreds of chapters later that he actually found out he had that night. And oh my gosh, if he gets a child after that night, that's like another, like, I don't know, 20 chapters dealing with his new family.
I'm
One-
getting against the gods
Yeah.
flashbacks here. Has he yet to find his first? Or are they still looking for her?
Was that in Against the Gods? I don't know, but I read one where it was the same thing, but it caused her cultivation to mess up and became a monster and run away. Then, like 200 chapters later, there's this monster at the bottom of like a sea thing, and it's jumped 4 big cultivation realms. Is like 4 times stronger, and there's a boss he has to fight that's been killing people, and you're like, because he had this aphrodisiac at some point, like that was the biggest extreme I've ever seen it. Like, caused a plot device. Like, it was like 400 chapters later. Like this lady, this woman ran away and came back 400 chapters later because you never heard anything else about it. It was more like the author forgot about it and was like, "Oh yeah, I have to resolve that."
That's probably what happened, honestly.
Yeah. So
I'm also getting heavenly. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no. I was just gonna say, so with the aphrodisiac arc, it kind of drives me nuts because that is a great way to write a budding romance, for one, totally. And the whole thing can take like 50 to 100 chapters or even more, as we see in ATG. And it's just it's in like every single novel. It's totally overdone.
Yeah. Man.
I'm
Maybe
getting
that's what
heavenly
I'm
jewel
missing in my
change
cultivation
flashback now.
novel.
Oh no.
Oh gosh.
Oh god. Not gonna lie, for anyone who goes to read Song of Swords later, shout out by the way. I basically forgot that like females existed for like 100 chapters in that book. Or not like 100 chapters, for like 100 pages. And then I only realized it when one of my Patreons back in the day was just like, hey, can you make like a new like female character for me? There's only like one. I was like, oh, right.
What
Yeah.
is female? Oh yeah.
Did you put in an aphrodisiac arc?
No,
Thank you.
not yet.
No.
Not yet.
I
Not
probably
yet.
won't. That's not my style.
I mean, but at this point, readers who have been around for a while, all of them groan when they see an aphrodisiac arc coming up because it's just, how it's going to play out. It's going to be so long and there's not even good action out of it.
That's
No,
actually a great segue to my arc.
Oh no.
My choice of arcs, okay? The tournament arc, okay? It will go on for at least 50 chapters, and the main character will defeat every single opponent until the last one with like one hit or something, right? Or something stupid like with a brick, or with like, I don't know, with like a single punch.
The
brick,
brick.
right? It was in like
The
True
brick,
Martial
yeah.
World or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he just picks up this brick, right? And it's supposed to be like some like ultimate weapon system or something. But he's just like, nah, dude, this is a brick. I'm just gonna smash people on the head with it, and that's how I'm gonna win like 10 rounds in a row.
Yeah.
And that's what
It
happens,
was-
right? The MC just goes on stage. Everyone's just like, oh man, this guy doesn't look that strong. And then the MC's just like, oh yeah, I'm super strong. Punch you in the face. Okay, I win.
It's something stupid like he had to pick up a bunch of bricks and each one he picked up had like a small chance of becoming a legendary weapon.
What?
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what it was. And then he gets it, and it has like a special effect which can, as long as you hit the opponent on the head, they go unconscious for like 5 seconds or something.
Okay.
It is
That's actually
ridiculous.
hilarious.
Wow.
Right.
Honestly, when I first started reading web novels, I freaking loved tournament arcs. But nowadays, it's like, eh.
Yeah. It's like it was funny at first. Like the one that actually interested me was that one because they were usually pretty boring. Because the main character like got a legendary weapon
Yeah.
by accident, and then there was like a whole subplot of there was houses being destroyed in the night because the main character went out and took houses apart brick by brick trying to get a legendary weapon.
All right.
And that was just kind of like, and like that was all while like a tournament was going on during a week. Like it was the mysterious thing that was happening during the tournament. But they do get pretty boring.
Wasn't there a scene in I Shall Seal the Heavens where Meng Hao was stealing bricks, like because they were gold or something?
Meng Hao steals everything. Okay?
No, but
if
he
it
was
has monetary
literally
value.
Oh yeah, no,
like,
I remember that.
Houses
yeah,
with bricks and stuff and the floor. I remember
Yeah,
that.
he
and
does
laughing
that
at
like
Floor.
50
It was
times
the
in that
floor.
novel.
Yeah, there was like demons and stuff.
Floor
and
tiles, ceilings,
floor tiles. Yeah.
pillars, whatever he could get his hands on.
with a sheepish smile, mind you.
Goat.
Oh, one thing that also really irritates me about tournament arcs now is all the reaction chapters. Because of course, you know,
Oh yeah.
when the main character is ripping his way through everyone with like an brick, we've got like the crowds first like, oh no, he's just a punk, he's not gonna kill, like, you know, he's not gonna defeat the senior brother. And then oh my gosh, he's
Yeah.
actually really strong. Oh my gosh, how dare he defeat senior brother? So senior brother hops out and the crowd's like, okay, senior brother, you're gonna kick his ass. And then oh my gosh, his
Yeah.
ass is getting kicked. What? Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
And then they pull out the senior brother.
Yes. And then you
Oh
got
no! And then the
senior
MC is
young
gonna spout
master.
some ridiculous thing about being right and just, and then
Yeah.
he cripples the big
Yeah.
daddy. He's like, "Oh, you deserved it. You
You're
deserved
then
it."
you
You're
get-
crippled."
Mount Tai, you're an ant in
Yeah.
a well. Or no,
Something
you're
swatter
a
eats.
frog in a well, you're an ant beneath
Then
my
young clan master comes out.
Yep.
Young plan master. He
Yeah.
has the best plan. Oh no! You know what's worse? It's when the masters and the sect masters get upset and then have a grudge, but it's a
Yeah.
tournament. It's like you're expected to win or lose. Nope! How dare he have an audacity to
How
win
dare
against
he.
my?
And then it's like,
like,
give illegal drugs to the senior brother.
Oh, yeah,
blood
yeah.
boiling pill.
Yeah. Oh my god.
If this is sounding
Honestly-
like 80% of cultivation novels, it's basically 85%, 90%. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
I'll be honest though, like combat continents fights, like tournament arcs, I actually really liked. Okay, because like he gave
Alright,
like
cool.
really good like description of like space and stuff, so you could actually like kind of like imagine in your head like how it was going like pretty well. But he doesn't really do it as well in his later novels. I don't know. Maybe there was like the
Lazy.
specific like powers he gave to like his characters in that
It
novel
was-
that made it like easier for you to like envision a space. But later on, he's kind of just like, oh yeah, they're like 200 meters apart. They fight towards each other. They punched each other. Okay, one side won. Right?
It's the team fight aspect of it too. Like
Yeah.
there's different dynamics you can kind of picture. I feel like one-on-one fights are so boring because from the beginning you know who's going to win. Like there's no question that the
What do you
protagonist is gonna.
mean?
Yeah.
The main character is outmatched.
What? It's 2 large cultivation realms ahead of the main character? Of course they're going to lose.
Oh, and somehow the sect master never realizes that he's upgraded by 2 realms.
Yeah.
Like the seniors, they never seem to be able to discover that the protagonist has grown in strength, even though like after this arc they're gonna inevitably try to disguise his power level.
Here's my theory, okay? Every single web novel chapter has to have a quote unquote nani moment, right? It's like what? It's like what? He's gone up 2 cultivation realms? What? He's handsome now? What? He's it's just every single chapter has like a something going on.
Honestly, one of my favorite parts of the novels, though, is when you get the sect masters, which form a feud with him, and the main character has to like run and hide for ages. But then the main character comes back later in the novel and whoops their ass. That's one of my favorite parts.
Have you read Chaotic Sword God?
Or Martial God?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so Chaotic Sword God, the author literally repeats the same exact plot. Okay, the main character goes to a city. He gets kicked out of the city. He goes to a nearby mountain near the city. He kills everyone who goes on the mountain. The people in the city are like, what the hell's going on? Because the main character killed all of the people on the mountain, he's now super strong. He goes into the city and kills everyone. Okay?
Yep.
And then literally like 50 chapters later in the book, the main character goes to a city, gets kicked out of the city, goes to a nearby mountain, kills everyone who goes on the mountain, grows super strong, and then kills everyone in the city.
But it's just so good, it feels so good.
I legitimately thought I just like accidentally went back like 100 chapters. I was just like, wait, I'm on the wrong chapter.
No. The best part about that was the translator at the time, for April Fools. They released a chapter where I forget the main character's name. I dropped that book so long ago. The main character
or something.
He has like a dream.
Oh wait, no, that's Martial God.
Sure.
Anyway,
he has a dream where he turns into a bone or anything. Because he spoilers, he unlocks in that universe everyone has like a spirit or something, like a summon. He gets his mother's snake or hydra spirit or whatever. And the translator did a spoof chapter, like a prank, where she killed off the main character. And I remember at the time holy shit, this book just got so much better all of a sudden. What happened?
Yeah.
And then I scrolled down and it's like, oh, so what takes this book getting better is to kill off the main character. I see.
Yeah.
I mean, It was something. It was something new. It was something interesting.
Yeah. Like he gets devoured and then he gets
talked over
killed or something.
Yeah. Jian Shen, I think, however you say that.
Oh yeah, right.
In
That's
Chinese,
the main
it's
character.
Jian Chen. So Jian
There you go.
Chen.
See, I'm just gonna not Jian Chen. There you go.
Oh, that's not
mine.
bad. Yeah, better than Wuxia.
All right, yo,
Wuxia world.
Bao, what's your arc?
All right, so my arc is actually perfect because it goes along with Moon. It's the arc that comes before the tournament arc, and that is the main character will go to the lazily named pavilion where they grab cultivation manuals or whatnot, or they get a pill, and then they go into secluded cultivation for like a month, a week, 3 months,
5 years,
10,000 years,
something like that. And then it's just an excuse. It's such a lazy excuse for the author to go exposition, info dump. And the techniques, they usually do this at the beginning, by the way, more so when he's trying to gain power.
Yeah.
The realms all blend together.
Yeah.
The first time you read a cultivation novel, it's interesting because it's like, oh, these guys are upgrading like Super Saiyans, etc., and discovering how the realms work and what they augment is really cool and interesting. It's like acquiring a new weapon in an RPG game. But eventually you realize that all the cultivation novel systems are kind of the same.
Yeah.
The condensing, then it's body tempering, etc. And then they'll learn a secret art that they picked from the pagoda or the pavilion. And then they don't get actual practice out of the technique. They just sit there and they cultivate.
Yeah.
A running joke I have with my friends and my my editing buddies is whenever the protagonists learn a technique, they don't actually learn how to fight. They're just standing there and shouting out the technique names. Like they never practice with the technique per se. The only time they practice is if the author will say, "Oh, the movement technique. He'll sprint around in the trees for a bit, becoming a shadow, etc., etc. Or he points his finger and
it's
beam
always
comes
just
out.
them like reading a scroll, right?
Yeah, but they never actually practice. So in my mind, it's just some guy sitting cross-legged for however long it is. He comes out stronger, and then it's time to settle the feud, the debt with the young master he offended, or it's time for the tournament arc, where surprise, surprise, he became super strong for whatever cheat reason. But I get so sick and tired of reading that because I know that when it comes to the Immortals Cave, that's what they call their little hidey ho to cultivate, by the way. I can skip ahead like 15 chapters, and I wouldn't have missed a thing.
And then you'll reach the tournament chapter where
I will reach the tournament chapter. Yeah, and it's set up to be a payoff thing. Like before that, he gets kicked around and he's weak.
Yeah,
he trains for a long time, and then the tournament is supposed to be the payoff. But there's no payoff because you already know he's gotten so strong that there's going to be no competition.
I mean, like the first 10 times you read a cultivation novel, like
that's interesting.
It's a pretty good payoff, but after like 10 years, like all right, I get it.
I roll central. But yeah, that's my favorite, least favorite, I suppose.
All right, Tectonic, what's yours?
Mine is the Auction Ark. It is a filler, definitely, but it's one of my favorite arcs in these sorts of novels. So, as it sounds, it's where the main character goes to an auction.
Really?
What happens in my story?
And it's a means to either find that the main character's looking for either this cultivation like technique or a special material, and they're seeking or a weapon or anything that the characters need for, and there just happens to be this secret auction that's going on, and the main character finds their way to there. And there's lots of different ways you get with an auction. There's usually two sides. One, they're secretive and they disguise themselves and they get a secret room and nobody knows who they are there, or it's sort of big, open and public and everybody can see each other, and you get some so the big finale, and you get that's the material that they want. And you get a bidding war. You get the bidding wars between the main characters and the sort of the antagonists, the young clan master. The opposing young clan master comes up and they see the main character and they're like, ha ha ha, I'm going to outbid him because he clearly wants to buy that. And they just have this big bidding war. And the young clan master is always just surprised because the main character is always outbidding him by lots and lots and lots.
One of my favorite parts about the auction house arc is when there's like a item that like nobody thinks is good, and then like the main character or like some like old elder like in the main character's head or some shit is like, oh yeah, get that, that's super good, that's awesome. And the main character's just like, what do you mean it's awesome? Nobody else here likes it. It's like, that's because they're all stupid. Get it?
Yeah.
It's like just imagining Palpatine in someone's head now going, do it, get it,
do it.
My precious, get my precious.
It's like
honestly, imagine if Gollum was in a main character's head.
Jesus.
Because every single time the main character sees a ring, any ring, he just gets the Gollum voice in his head. My precious, my preciouses. Oh my
god. That was pretty good. Wow.
Kill them and this is my preciouses cultivation tract.
Okay, so apparently Bao is a Gollum voice actor.
Yeah.
Coming soon to a MoonQuill audiobook near you.
Oh god.
I want a cultivation novel starring Gollum.
You write it. Write it.
Yeah, you write it yourself. Come on, that's how we do
one of the most memorable auction house scenes that I've ever read was from Tales of Demons and Gods.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
And it's like the main character comes back to the auction house multiple times in that novel, And I love it so much every time in that novel. It's so good.
I love the time
He's
where he
just-
goes with his dad, and his dad's just like, "Oh, I need these pills. I need these pills."
Yeah,
And
we can't
wasn't his
afford
dad.
them.
It was
and then the main
sect-
character's just like, "Oh yeah, I like literally make them. Here's like 100."
Yeah.
No, it wasn't his dad. It was the clan patriarch and
Oh yeah, patriarch. Yeah, my bad.
his uncle or something. Not his dad.
Yeah, this is
It-
uncle.
it-
I think
It was like the first elder or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
I
he
was
like, I
buys like the
really
gold
need
set
these
of
pills.
armor,
yeah.
and the elder was just like, "Oh my god, you're so nice. This is for me." And he's like, "No, it's for me.
yeah.
yeah.
I get it."
Honestly,
The,
TDG had pretty good humor in it.
Yeah, I think like the like auction host. What I think I remember there's like multiple auctions, like auction houses
Yeah.
in the city, and they all have the same lady, the same auction house lady. Like they all look the same.
I thought their names were all the same, but they look different. Or
Was
maybe
it? I
that's a
don't
different
remember. It
book.
was something like that.
Yeah.
Or they look all the
they're
same,
all
but their
different.
names are different. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
was-
Oh, but you know what? You know
Some
what's worse?
combination.
It's the fact that the protagonist will suddenly find out that the auction house is not all that it seems. Like it's backed by some really powerful
yeah.
people.
I mean,
There-
there's so many
sometimes-
different variations of the way the auction house has been used. I think that's one of the reasons it's one of my favorites. Because although there's like similar traits, it's done in quite a few different ways.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, like, almost every time I've read about it, there's always the auction house, but the main character usually comes up to it a different way, a different thing happens. You know, like one time the MC just completely destroyed the auction house and stole everything that was on auction because it was a bad guy auction. It's like,
so
Well,
it
this
is
sounds
okay.
familiar. This sounds really familiar. The destroying the auction bit.
ATG maybe? I'm not sure.
Was it ATG?
I'm not sure.
It might have been
Uh,
Meng Hao. I think he stole.
Might have been. Oh yeah, no. I think Meng Hao stole something at some point.
Whenever you
From
say
an auction
stealing
house.
something, it's probably him.
It's probably Meng Hao.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce his
Uh-huh.
name again? It's like Mohal, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Nah, it's Meng Hao.
Okay.
Menho.
Meng Hao. Meng Hao.
How bad can
Don't
we
you
butcher
dare
that name? Meng
I read-
Hao.
I read over 1,000,000 words from that novel,
Oh,
and I
God.
read that word that way every single time in my head. Don't you dare.
Okay. Fair enough. Who are we to say?
I thought his name was Man Howie. First time I heard it.
We,
I was
we need to send this part to DB. He's either gonna laugh or he's
Oh,
gonna cry.
God.
He might do
He's
both.
gonna have an aneurysm.
No, but so bear in mind, Against the Gods was my second cultivation novel. TDG was my first, and that was because on Manga Rock they published the first mangaization. Is that a word? Manga serialization.
Yeah, sure.
And I was just like, wow, this is cool. Like, goddamn Immortals doing shit. I'm gonna look up the source material.
Yeah. This is
And I
something
didn't
new.
know how to pronounce because I'm Vietnamese, but I can't read. So I just
You can't read.
Rom-
Oh dear.
You mean you can't read Chinese?
Yeah, I
Not
can't read.
You can't read.
So when I first read I Shall Steal the Heavens, I thought it was Man Howie. And I was
Oh,
very
okay.
confused as to why like they kept saying Man Howie instead of just Howie. Like you know how Western books are just the first name?
Oh yeah.
I was like, why do they keep saying Man Howie?
That's
Yeah.
actually pretty funny.
Mine Tales of Demons and Gods was my first as well. Because I read the manga and then I was like, I wonder if there's more of this. And then I read that. and then it was I Shall See the Heavens, but man. Oh god. So
I
many
feel
good
like we
novels.
get dated by what novel we joined with, right?
Yeah.
Because when I joined, TDG wasn't even a thing yet, or translation.
What
wasn't
would you
even a thing
Coiling
yet.
Dragon? What did you start with? man?
Combat Continent, dude.
Oh yeah, Combat Continent.
Freaking! I
remember.
joined in around like chapter 20 of that.
Well, I think by the time I started reading, Combat Continent was done. At least the original one, or at least it was
Yeah.
close to being done or something. Because that was another one. Because I was reading as a manga Tales of Demons and Gods and Combat Continent,
Mm.
But I think I found Tales of Demons and Gods through the manga of that one, and then I was like, oh, I wonder if there's any other of the manga that I'm reading. If there's any other novels from it. And I read that one as well.
Actually,
No,
I lied.
yes.
I started with the Dragon Sword, or the Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, and the Condor Hero Trilogy.
I
Woot!
don't know either of those.
You
I don't
don't
know
know
what
the
that is.
originals, my boy?
I do not.
Judge
Classics.
How. Yes, demigods and semi-devils. Stuff like that.
No, I
Link them
don't
to
know.
me, I guess. I'll read them when I have time.
He's not reading them.
He's never going to read them.
Oh, come on. I read every... Yeah. Anyway, so thanks to all of you guys for coming by for this podcast and speaking. Thank you to all of the listeners for listening. Hope you guys will check us out at moonquill.com, Android app, MoonQuill. Song of Swords is available on Amazon. Look it up. The Song of Swords by Insane Mooncake. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Have a good holiday.
Bye.
Oh, happy holidays.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Why?